Anin, Sego. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me this week as we make our 5-bean salad. The ingredients you'll need for this week's recipe are 1 can of black beans, 1 can of pinto beans, a can of garbanzo beans, 1 can of cannellini beans, and 1 can of dark red kidney beans. You're also going to use 1 green pepper, 1 cup of celery, 1 cup of red onion, 3/4 of a cup of sugar, a half cup of vegetable oil, 3/4 of a cup of cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of water, a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of pepper. So go ahead, grab your ingredients, and I'll meet you back here so we can get started. The first thing we need to do is drain and rinse all 5 cans of beans. Here I'm starting with our chickpeas. I'm just going to give them a good rinse, and then I'm going to use my dark red kidney beans next. I'm going to move these chickpeas over, and there are those beautiful red kidney beans. Give them a good rinse, and now we'll start with our Romano beans. Again, give them another rinse. There were a couple that seemed a little squished, so I just picked those ones out. Here we have our black beans. Black beans are actually my favorite bean. And last, we've got our white kidney beans. So as I said, go ahead, give them a good rinse. Shake them around a little bit, and we're going to let them dry. So while they're drying, we can go ahead with our produce. I've got everything rinsed already, so let's start with our green pepper. We're actually going to use the whole green pepper. So I'm just going to take the top off, and here I've got an extra produce bag, so I'm just going to put all of my scraps in there. There is a video that was done earlier this year that talks about how to utilize your vegetable scraps to make a broth. So it's always a good thing to just kind of keep those scraps around. You can go back and check out that video. They do make a delicious broth. So go ahead, chop up your green pepper in a way that makes sense for you and your family. I'm just going to do small little squares or chunks, and although you can't see it, I'm just tossing them over into a large Tupperware container. And just be sure that you use the whole green pepper. All right, next I'm going to work with my celery. So we're supposed to have about a cup of diced celery. I'm going to start out with 3 stalks and see what that leaves us with. Again, we're just going to dice our celery, so go ahead and do whatever makes most sense for you and your family. I'm just slicing mine down the middle and then into smaller pieces. Depending on the age of the children in your family or who all you're feeding, you may choose to use larger chunks of celery. And I think I'm going to go ahead and add in this last stalk as well. and our red onion, which is the last piece of our produce. The recipe itself calls for 1 cup of diced red onion. Again, do whatever works best for you and your family or whoever it is that you plan on sharing your bean salad with. In our house, there's a few of us that like red onion and there's a few of us that aren't really big fans of it, so I'll make sure that my chunks of onion, are big enough that they can be picked out for those that don't enjoy the texture of them. So now I'll show you my Tupperware container. So you can see I've already got my green pepper and my celery. Now I'm just going to add in the onion as well. I'm just going to mix those around a little, break up my onion a little more. We can get started with the dressing. So here I've just got a medium-sized saucepan and I'm going to start with 3/4 of a cup of white sugar. Just letting you know, I do not have my stovetop turned on. I do have ingredients on top of the stovetop, and therefore I'm just going to add everything in and then I'll turn the element on. Next, we'll add 3/4 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. Half a cup of vegetable oil. A tablespoon of water. And we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm using a 1/2 teaspoon, so you will see me do this part twice. And a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. So we've got everything here in our saucepan. It's time to take away any extra items on the stovetop and then turn on the element. I seem to have forgotten a spoon. There we go. So I've got my element turned on high. We want to bring this mixture now to a boil. You're going to want to keep stirring because the last thing we want is for our sugar to start to burn. It will come to a boil quite quickly, so you won't be standing there stirring as long as you would if we were making gravy. And there we go, we've got it to a boil. So I'm just going to turn my element off and give it another couple seconds and continuously stir. Whew! That vinegar, once it gets boiling, gets caught in your throat. All right, let's add our beans into our Tupperware container with our veggies. And then we'll gently just stir that around and mix everything up so that we don't just have veggies on the bottom and beans on the top. I'm going to start slowly adding some of our dressing into my bean salad. And I'm going to mix it up as I go. Just making sure I give it a nice good stir. I want to make sure every bean and every piece of vegetable gets a little bit of that dressing. Give it another stir. And there we go. It's as easy as that. I'm going to cover this, put it in the fridge, and let it chill until it's dinner time. I hope you enjoy your 5-bean salad as much as I know I'm going to. Until next time, Ona!